Hey everybody, the calendar says August 1st. That's the unofficial holiday of the start of Tri-State Area High School football. Welcome into a special episode of the WCPO High School Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dyer. We are live from the Fort Wright Chick-fil-A here, joined by very special guests here. We have the Beechwood football team and the CovCath football team kind enough to join us for some discussion about the season outlook. And before we get started, I want to thank a special shout out to Brent Lynn, the Chick-fil-A operator here at the Fort Wright location. Him and his family have been first class all the way, helping us set up here earlier this afternoon, and we really want to thank him for the opportunity to do this podcast here. As always, you can get this podcast on Google Play, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. And as I mentioned, we are joined by Beechwood football coach Noel Rash, and also two of his seniors. We have running back and linebacker senior Josh Derry, and we have senior center and linebacker Blake Shepard, kind enough to join us. So, Noel, you've been at this for quite a long time, as we just discussed here off microphone, but tell us, first of all, how the summer has been for the Tigers and what you like most about this team right now.
The summer's been great. It's the kid. You know, I'm blessed. I get up and go to work at a school that the kids already have a high expectation of themselves, both academically and athletically, and in other endeavors too. So, what Coach Eviston and I both get to do is show up at practice and coach football. We don't have to teach a lot of other things other than that. The kids are taken care of at home, and therefore they show up, ready to learn football, and that's a huge plus. Our kids work their tails off, and that's a huge plus for anybody sitting in my position.
Well, I want to ask Blake and Josh here a little bit about the team, but as always, this High School Insider Podcast is presented by our local Chick-fil-A restaurants. As I mentioned, a special episode here today, where the winning play is always chicken. Download the app today for extra points. Blake, let's start with you. What do you like most about this team? Been part of 3 straight state titles. Quite the accomplishment, obviously, for you and your senior teammates. What's it like going into your senior year now?
It's kind of scary. I mean, I've been part of it for so long. It's weird that I know that this is my last year. So it's tough.
And Josh, what are kind of your thoughts here? I mean, most high school football players, really any high school student athlete would just jump at the chance to have an opportunity at a state title, let alone win 3 in a row. I mean, what's your mindset going into the senior season?
Go for 4. I mean,
you're grateful for the opportunity.
You always have to have high expectations, and that's what we need to do is get it done. It's what Beechwood program's about. It's winning and getting it done.
Okay, guys, let's be honest here. What's it like to play for Coach Rash? I'm not going to hide the lead at all. I'm going to be direct and honest and up front.
It's not too bad.
Tell what's he like on this time of year? That's not even before the game start. Let's just talk about the 2-a-days. Joyful.
Happy. Excited.
Can you confirm that, Coach?
I would never use the word joyful, but hey, thank God he did, right? Thank God he did. But I love their 2 answers as far as the question before, because one, how important their senior is to. I mean, he's nervous not about the season, just about this being over for him, right?
Sure.
And then Josh talks about expectations, right? Immediately, our goal was state championships, but day by day, actually play by play is what we kind of talk about. So, right? I mean, again, I haven't really had to teach that. That's already ingrained in them. So that's past classes, just the system that's been in place way before I ever showed up there.
Before we get into this season, Noel, I mean, just can you reflect a little bit about what 3 in a row has meant to this program, not only to your program, but to the school community, everybody involved?
Well, I obviously, the community takes a lot of pride in those things. For me, it's about each season, and these guys will tell you, and one of the things I'll take pride in that I do is I'm not worried about last year, the year before. This is the senior class. It's their time, their year. It's about them. It's not about the legacy. It's not about what's happened in the past. I want to use that to help carry us, but it's about this senior class and them deciding how we're going to go about this season, because they know whether together we can right the ship or not. We're going to go up together, we're going to go down together, we're going to go in every direction together. It's never going to be the coaches on one side and the players on the other. And the senior class has always set that tone.
Obviously, one of the storylines this season, we were talking off camera here a little bit, is obviously Beechwood going up to 2A. What difference, what impact does that have on how maybe you approach things, how you kind of view your opponents on the schedule, and maybe kind of, you're not going to be one that says you're going to look ahead to the playoffs at all, but I'm just curious what impact.
Well, you hear that people give the coach speak answer, and it's right, coach speak. It's just we've always played a bigger schedule than what level we're at anyway. We've had to. I mean, those guys are going to talk after us. I mean, they're pretty special, right? And so it's no different. It's absolutely no different, none whatsoever, especially this time of year, because right now it's about preparing us. I'm not even worried about opponents. I'm worried about us getting better as a team and focus on our schemes and what we do and trying to get us locked into what we do and doing it best. As Coach Saban, Nick Saban would say at Alabama, do it till you, not till you get it right, do it till you can't get it wrong. And, ad nauseum. And it's hard for high school athletes because that repetition can lead to some boring type moments, and they got to realize that this is not about being boring, it's about being great.
I want to get into more specifics about your team, but first of all, these two guys, you brought them here for a reason, Blake and Josh. How special have they been to your program?
I got to grab myself there because I get a little emotional about it. They are tone setters. They are kids that can, you never have to look over your back. You never have to worry about, I always call it the Walmart test. They're the kids doing the right thing when nobody's looking. And they do that on the field, off the field. They do it at practice. They set tones. They bring players up when I bring them down. They know to play off of the coaches. They see a bigger picture. They see the daily picture, their work ethic, and all that starts at home. They come from great families. And so, I go back to the original answer I gave you. I'm very blessed, but these two are probably the most, and I've got many, so I don't want to say they're, sure, but they are shining examples of what every coach wants in, student players that are going to be leaders.
Josh, where does that come from, that work ethic, that, ability to maybe do things that go unnoticed otherwise, but you just want to bring your lunch pail every day, as the cliche goes?
I'd say it comes from home and from my coach here. He pushes us every day and exceed the level that you think. You get past barriers, you break barriers every day, and you just get farther in your work ethic. It's just like your brothers, they push you, and it's just, you keep going. They're pushing you to go.
Blake, what does Beechwood football mean to you?
Brotherhood, teamwork, everything like that. Having a sense of purpose.
When you talk about this time of year, often you hear coaches, and maybe Noel, you could speak to this, about coaches enjoy the practices even more than the games so much. I'm always curious from a player's perspective, and I've talked to players who've played high school football and then they go on and play college, and they say, always miss that opportunity, that camaraderie, that brotherhood that we had. Just talk about that, with your teammates, especially being seniors now. What that represents to you.
I mean, it's different. You got to love it. There's nowhere else that you can get it. If you love the game, you love your brothers, then there's nothing better.
What about for you, Josh?
He said you always have to have each other's backs. That's about it.
Yeah. Talk about this. We'll go into details here on your offense here. Obviously, you return Cameron Hergott, junior outstanding quarterback there for you. But kind of take us through the offense a little bit. How are things looking?
This is a year where we're graduating, and I don't know the exact numbers, and I'm not a numbers guy, but we're graduating 7 or 8 guys that have been 3, and one of them that was a 4-year starter, which doesn't happen very often at any school, but certainly at Beechwood where you have a freshman starting. But in Logan Castleman, he played as a freshman. So we're going to have a lot of guys that have been under the Friday night lights for the first time. All of them are exceptionally good players, but they've never been under those lights, and some guys that affects adversely, and some guys, relish it. And we've got to make sure that they all end up falling in love with it. But offensively, we're going to be who we've always been. We're going to run to championships, and because the turf fields have changed the game a little bit. They've allowed all this, throwing the ball left and right and sideline to sideline and vertical and all that. But at the end of the day, in the Midwest, Mother Nature's going to sneak up and bite you right in the canister if you're not able to run the ball and you can't stop the ball. You have to be able to do those things. And you certainly have to be able to throw the ball too. But so we're going to be that, and that'll always be me, maybe to a fault. That'll be who we're going to be. Coach Herget is our offensive coordinator, which is Cameron's uncle, and he does him and the rest of the offensive staff do a fantastic job of getting our guys ready. And it's not like we don't go into games where we can't be 80-20 pass to run. The state game in 17 was that, because they were going to make sure they were going to put 8-9 in the box, and they were going to force us to throw it. So, he'll adjust and make those adjustments, but we're always going to be a run it first and to set up the pass kind of team.
You have 4 defensive starters returning for the Tigers this year. Talk about that defensive side of the ball.
Well, you're looking at 2 key cogs in the wheel. We're actually going to change our scheme a little bit this year because of the type of players we have up front, but we feel like we have 3, 4, possibly even 5 guys playing at that second level, the linebacker, safety level, that can make plays for us. So we're gonna create a little different front for us this year, and watch those guys go make a lot of plays and tell the front to take up a lot of people and go and let these linebackers and those guys go gobble up people. So we'll see how it turns out and how that works. But I'm excited. Our thing on defense is, because we're going to play teams like this, CovCath and Simon, and teams that are bigger than us, across the board generally, we're going to try to win with speed. That's our thing, and that's kind of what we ran into in the playoffs in years past. We couldn't keep up with some team speed. Mayfield was one of those teams, and so we made a commitment in 15 when we lost to Pikeville. If we can't run on the perimeter like those teams, we're not going to get beat coming off the ball up front. And that's one of those things we made a commitment to in the off season, as well as how we train. And so I'm excited, because I think defensively, what I've seen so far, we can run to the ball. We can run to the ball really well.
Coach, a bigger picture question here for you. 13 years as head coach at Beechwood. 3 wins away from 150, that milestone. What does this program, what does this community represent to you and to your family?
Everything. Maybe too much. When you come into a situation like this, and all of a sudden they hand you the keys to the castle, and the castle is Beechwood football, or one of 2 things can happen. You can either dive into it and love it, or you can kind of, I guess the word is, just relish in it. And my thing is go to work. The way our kids go to work, so they constantly remind me that this isn't about radio shows and or podcast, excuse me.
You love that word, don't you?
Yeah. It's about getting up and going to work. And that, because ultimately, whether you hang a banner, you get a ring, however you want to name state titles, I got to leave them with believing in a cause bigger than yourself, having a cause that you're going to need somebody more than you to get it done, and get up and go to work. Whether your body, your mind, your emotions are telling you not to, you got to get up and go to work. And if I can leave the kids with those 3 things in that community, then I feel really good about things, and I get so much support in doing that. So it means the world to me. And it'll be, I'm getting towards the end of my career. It'll be hard to walk away with it when that day comes, and that day's getting closer down the road. And for the first time ever this off season, it's the first time I've ever thought about, this place not being who I am every day. And so I reflect on it quite a bit, but like I said, I'll go back to the other answer. It's about this senior class, this moment, this year. And that's where I got to keep my thoughts.
Very well said. Beechwood coach Noel Rash. We have Josh Derry and senior Blake Shepard. Thank you all for joining us today on the WCPO High School Insider Podcast.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything you do for
guys.
high school athletes.
Appreciate it. Best of luck to you this evening. Thanks, guys.
All right, you get applause back.
Again, we want to thank Beechwood coach Noel Rash and also seniors Josh Derry and Blake Shepard for joining us. We're going to bring in Covington Catholic here momentarily. And I want to remind everybody this High School Insider Podcast is presented by our local Chick-fil-A restaurants where the play of the game is always chicken. Try their grilled chicken nuggets with some Chick-fil-A sauce, and I will definitely be going for that right after this podcast. I want to bring in Michael Mayer here, senior, and Michael Thielen, and Coach Eddie Eviston here momentarily. By the way, CovCath and Beechwood do play each other September 20th at CovCath. How long has that series been going on? Coach, do you know?
I don't.
Maybe Coach Rash would know here, but Eddie, we want to bring you in here. Appreciate you joining us, Coach Eddie Eviston. Also have Michael Thalen and Michael Mayer, as I mentioned here before. And guys, I was out of practice, out at 7-on-7 last week when you faced Winton Woods, and Coach had a great conversation with you. The theme seems to me that this team is hungry. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the bitter taste left in your mouth after being state runner-up last year in 5A. What's the approach this summer, Coach? And what do you like most about the team right now?
Well, the biggest thing is I think these guys they enjoy playing for each other, and I don't think we'll get anywhere if that's not the case. So the idea that we are hungry, we talk a lot about you want to win, not for you want to win for the guy next to you, and I think that we have a good core of guys that is their approach, and that's the way they're working so far this summer. So yeah, that's a plus in our column right now.
Michael, give me a sense of what this team's mentality has been this summer, and just kind of what the conversation is like, maybe even off the field, whether it be in the locker room or just among your classmates and teammates about getting after it this season.
Sort of like what he said, we're hungry. I mean, no one likes to fall short, so every day we're working, and we just want to be back in that situation, but we want to come out on top.
Michael, we kind of talked about same thing. Go ahead. You're ready to chime in?
We're all hungry. Obviously, what happened last year, it's not the way we wanted it to happen. Our offense is looking good. Our defense is looking good. We got the pads on today, and we're excited for the season.
Let's kind of go into specifics here, Coach. I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but offensively, how are things looking? Obviously, you return Michael, and your quarterback returns. You talked about your standout offensive lineman. Kind of take us through some of those key guys for you.
Well, yeah, obviously, you have a weapon like Michael Mayer. You're going to have to, I'd be a dumb coach if I didn't use it properly. So, obviously, he's going to be a big key part of what we do offensively. Having a young quarterback who has a year under his belt, getting to his junior campaign, continue to build kind of his repertoire at the QB position. And then, we do have a 3-year returning starter up front, and we got a lot of young guys. Some guys that'll, be the first time, in a couple weeks where, they're in that position. So yeah, offensively, we gotta be a team that, we've always been a team that likes to put points on the board. I think more importantly, we just gotta be a smart team offensively. It's all those things that, you have to do, not turn the ball over. Not give the other team freebies. Those are the types of things I think we're going to have to do, especially early, to kind of get some momentum as the season goes on.
Junior Caleb Jacobs, your quarterback, obviously. How do you think he's improved just from a year ago?
Well, obviously physically, he's grown a good amount. He's added some weight. His arm has gotten a lot stronger, and then obviously he's not learning everything new. We're trying to continue to polish it up, and that's one thing he continues to do as we've gone through the summer. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of the 7-on-7s overall, but those are good things to do. Especially from a quarterback standpoint, receiver standpoint, to continue to brush up. So, looking forward to him having another, taking what he did last year and turning it up a notch.
And then Lucas Jones, your standout offensive lineman, who I alluded to, 3-year starter for you, battled some injuries, but now he's healthy. Talk about his leadership a little bit.
Well, yeah, we're going to need it. That's the biggest thing, is that we're going to need it because, he'll have some guys that have not played up front with him. So he needs to continue to lead that group and continue to be a dominant force up there. So we've always prided our O-line on, kind of taking over a game when needed. And so, we need to continue to see that those guys can gel and grow into that.
You brought these two guys, the two Michaels, here for a reason. First of all, how many Chick-fil-A sandwiches can they eat?
Well, I don't know, but those guys better be start cooking back here.
Start getting ready, right?
Sometimes I come here with him. He takes out 3. So.
How special have these guys been for you, for your program?
Oh, tremendous. Obviously tremendous. Michael Thielen here, he's a guy that originally, wasn't playing. He sat out sophomore year, came back, and great, for us, for our program, just a tremendous asset. He's come in. He's became a leader, especially probably ever since January. Obviously, he got injured last year and wasn't able to finish out the season. But he has come back January stronger than ever. He's a leader now. I always tell him, we got two guys that, they kind of all offense kind of play the same position, and I think he'd be one of the top tight ends in the area. Obviously, you got Michael Mayer. He plays for us as well. So, but tremendous. And then obviously Michael Mayer, just we all know everyone knows who he is. He's been a big part of our program. The beauty of it all is everything, all the attention that he gets is very well deserved. But it doesn't get to his head. He comes to work every day, doesn't expect any special treatment, anything like that. So that's a breath of fresh air, I think, when you kind of see all this stuff around on TV and media about guys like that.
Michael, question for you just about, Coach just alluded to the fact of your journey through the CovCath program. I mean, what has this meant to you to be a part of the Colonels and be a part of the success that this school has had, obviously, the past few years?
Well, obviously, sophomore year, they won the state championship. I wasn't a part of that, so coming back junior year, playing for them, and obviously losing, coming back this senior year, I can't wait. I can't wait to be playing on the field with him and, learning more from him and learning everything I can from him. So.
Tell me about that dynamic, too. I mean, you guys both play the same position at tight end. I mean, Michael, what have you learned from this guy in practice and what he does?
Almost everything, either from one step or moving your hands, just everything. I mean, he's always coaching me up. So.
Yeah, we're best buds outside the football field, and on the football field we're even tighter. We're going to be playing defense together this year too, so it's going to be a lethal duo.
How do you handle that spotlight? Coach just mentioned that, you get the way we are now with social media and, accolades. I mean, athletes of any level can be propped up. How have you kind of maintained that focus, that perspective throughout all this?
Just try to not let it get to my head. Every day I come out for practice with my brothers, and I kind of just clear my head, don't think about it at all, and just try to play football, really.
How tough is that to have that, though? I mean, knowing that, stuff is out there. I mean, is it one of those things that you've had to take advice from somebody, or does that just come all from within in terms of clearing your mind when you enter the field?
It comes from within. I've definitely learned from experience, if you let it get to your head, and you're not going to be able to play good on the field. You're not going to be a very good person off the field, and I don't want that. Same
thing I asked the Beechwood guys here, and Coach, maybe you can chime in here too. But these two-a-days, we're kind of into the grind of August and the preseason, and give me your sense of just kind of what that's like for you guys as players. And obviously, everybody wants to be out there on Friday nights and share in the glory and the limelight. But what's that like? Just kind of building that process.
Yeah, all summer it's been awesome with my brothers out there. The season's coming up. We just put pads on today. It's a grind. It's a grind. And just for those good moments on Friday nights, you got to put a lot of time in over the summer. And that's what we've been doing.
I mean, does it get any easier now that you're a senior, or is it?
It's harder.
Is it harder? Why is that?
You got to be a better leader. You got to make more plays. You just got to do things better.
Gotcha. What about for you, Michael?
I mean, as a senior, it's your team, so these summer practices are your last, so you got to give it all you got.
Coach, how do you kind of approach that with the guys? Every team is different. Every team has its own unique identity, but how do you connect with them and maybe motivate's not the right word because you're a CovCath, you expect success, but what's that like just each summer to
it's one of those things where I talk to these guys, I talk to them about we can't be ordinary. There's a lot of people that are ordinary, and what separates the most successful people from the ordinary average person. And football is just an unbelievable game because if you take the percentage of actually Friday night lights, it's a very small percentage of actually the work you got, of what you're doing, the time you're putting in. And they're putting all this time in. I mean, that makes them extraordinary. They're showing up every day, putting all this work in. Extraordinary. There's nothing in return right now. We got to get to those Friday nights, and you get one day a week, one night a week to kind of put that on display. So I think that makes it such a unique game, and that's what makes these guys, which I think all football players, especially at the high school level, extraordinary. They're not average students. These guys are extraordinary. They go out here and just work their tails off, just completely work their tails off, and again, that's the best thing I think about this game. This learning this work ethic that these guys got to do, and we push them, we grind them, and they do a great job responding to it.
What's the biggest difference? I mean, you've coached obviously at Georgetown College. I mean, what is the difference there in terms of the way guys approach the season from high school and college? I mean, are there more similarities than what we think, or is it just?
I think the biggest
dynamic?
I think the biggest thing is the wide eyes. We go up to some sophomores this morning. When we go pads, and you get some wide-eyed kids. The first time varsity action pads, and they don't know much. And for me as a coach, that's the thing I love most is seeing these guys grow. Not even as football players, just as regular. Young men, just seeing them grow, and you see these guys start to build confidence in themselves that's going to carry over off the field. That's the best thing I think. I mean, that's my number one reward as a coach. Sometimes in college, you got these guys that are kind of set in their kind of own little way of things, and obviously they do things well to be able to play. No matter what level you're at the college level, they do things well to play, but they're kind of set in what they can do and how much they're willing to kind of, be a sponge and take it all in. So, these guys are, our group, they're there, they're listening, they're trying to be coachable, and I think that's the best thing as a coach.
I want to get into your defensive side of the ball, but your kicker, junior Trey Carnati, he's a special kicker, obviously. Can you talk about him?
Trey's a bird, man, and he's. It's funny because he started kicking for us as a freshman. And, it's kind of a joke. And when we first started kicking, we kind of gave him the nickname Just Enough because he was making everything, but it was just barely getting over the crossbar. Yeah. And I remember like the first probably 7 or 8 games, that's what he's doing. But as the season went on, his leg got a little bit more powerful. I wasn't holding my breath as long when the kick was, going up. But, he puts the work in. He's another kid. You're like, football player, you got kicker. This kicker puts the work in. He's with us every day in the off season, in the weight room. Does that? We treat him just like a football player, where we expect everything that anyone else does. Even though he's a specialist, he does too. And he's done the work on his own. He's gone out and kicked, and kind of now this summer he's done a tour of all these kicking camps and has been very successful. So he's going to be a weapon for us, and. He's doing a great job. So I'm excited about, his junior year and then, what the senior year brings him.
When's the last time you kicked?
Never.
You're honest.
I'm horrible at kicking.
How about in practice? Does he ever try?
Nah.
Okay.
You're
honest.
I got other stuff to work on.
I got a feeling he'd probably be pretty good at it, though.
I think so, too. How about punting? You ever punt?
I punted a little bit freshman year.
Okay.
I think after freshman year, that ended for me.
Okay. What was your average?
No idea.
Okay. Defensively, you mentioned you guys are just going to fly around to the ball. Talk about some of those guys defensively.
It's again, like I think we mentioned the other day. It's just fun to watch our defense. Coach Terry Brown does a great job he's our defensive coordinator of getting these guys to do all these little things and just fly around. And to me, a guy that's been an offensive guy for so long. It's one of those things. I truly enjoy watching them play defense. I get pumped. I'm excited. I almost become a fan when we're on that side of the ball because of how well these guys run around and get after it. So that's kind of been our MO. When we tell our guys you can't be slow. You can't be slow for us and play defense. And you got to fly around with reckless abandonment and do things right, communicate, and if you do that, good things can happen.
It's the same question that I concluded with Noel. What does CovCath football mean to you? I asked Noel about what Beechwood and the community means to him, but just what has it meant to coach CovCath here the past few years and just going forward? How special has it been for your life?
It's special. It's especially when you make a transition with my family. You make that transition and. You think hopefully you made these right decisions when and every decision I make at this point in my life has everything to do with my family. So when you get a place like that and you have a place that makes that hey, you made the right decision, and these kids have been great. All these kids these last 4 years have been tremendous. The school's been tremendous. So I've had a blast. I'm telling you, I've had a blast, and the coaching football for a long time, these past few seasons are some of my most enjoyable, and it has a lot to do with these guys, these kids who come out, and I tell them I'm coming here every day. I'm coming here to work, and I'm not going to cancel anything. So as you guys come, let's have fun with this. We're going to be here anyway, and they've had a great attitude about that, and they've come, and when you can practice and go through this grind together, and you can try to make it as enjoyable as possible. I mean, it makes your job pretty special. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I want to thank you guys again. CovCath coach Eddie Eviston, senior Michael Thalen, senior Michael Mayer. Best of luck to the Colonels this season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. And again, we want to thank everybody here at the Fort Wright Chick-fil-A, including operator Brent Lynn and his family, for all the first-class hospitality and giving us this opportunity to have the WCPO High School Insider podcast and bring in Beechwood and CovCath here today. Enjoy talking high school football with both coaches and both players and all the players that were here. We were going to continue this on the Ohio side next week. Join me Tuesday, August 6th at the Western Hills Chick-fil-A. We're going to have a special WCPO High School Insider podcast featuring Elder football coach Doug Ramsey and Oak Hills coach Kyle Prosser, and along with a few of their players as well. So, again, thanks for everybody who's here at the Fort Wright Chick-fil-A and watching us on Facebook Live and listening to this episode later on today. We appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week.